Hi guys, this is Evelina Bieszada. Welcome to my channel, Feel, Grow, Live. This is the second part of the inner voice video. Today we're going to be talking not about the why, but about the how. I'm just going to quickly recap what we talked about. So if you've watched it, we established that if you didn't, of course, go back and watch it. I encourage you to do so. If you did, what we talked about was the fact that inner voice is one of the most influential, impactful forces in your well-being. So it's really important for it to be positive, nurturing. The way you talk to yourself is telling you a story that you then act out, you live it out outside of your head, of your mind, of yourself. So that's one of the ways in which we can work on ourselves, is by looking at our inner voice, familiarizing yourself with your inner voice, and then changing the aspects of the way you talk to yourself from negative to positive in very generic terms. So your inner voice and working with your inner voice, it has a huge potential when it comes to improving your mental health, and it's one of the most important aspects of your mental health. A little bit more about the inner voice, because I don't think we mentioned that, and I think it's very important to mention how the inner voice comes into being, and there will be no surprise here if I tell you that your inner voice is being formulated from birth, if not earlier, onwards. So it's a process that takes a lot of years, a lot of people. The process that is obviously very complex, but the process can be summarized in one sentence. Where your parents talked to you, it becomes your inner voice. I want you to remember that formulating your inner voice took many, many, many years, and a lot of people and a lot of experiences. Therefore, you can't expect of yourself or of anyone, or therapy or whatever, to dismantle your inner voice or to change it in a short space of time, 6 months, a year, etc. But working on yourself, it's a lifestyle. Working on yourself is the only job that pays off. I want you to remember that, and I hugely encourage you to, because it can give your life, it can give your day a purpose and your life a meaning. So it is extremely important to remember that layer of your inner voice, or that layer of your inner world, the inner voice, is not a result of some random event or some random process, or it is happening over many, many years. Therefore, it will take some time to undo it or to change it. The first fundamental condition for working with yourself, or any kind of work in psychotherapy or psychology, is awareness. We need to collect some data. We need to find out the nature of your inner voice, because it's very individual. So it will differ from person to person. And the style of people talking to themselves can be really diverse. For some people, the fact that the voice is judgmental will be the main problem. For some people, the aspect of its obsessiveness will be the main problem, right? So first of all, it's building awareness around what is the nature of your inner voice. What needs to happen for that? The process that needs to take place, that you need to familiarize yourself with, I called it PNN, pause, notice, note, right? So you have to stop, you have to start observing your voice and then you have to clock it in. You have to make a note. You have to make a mental note. You can also make a note on a piece of paper, which would be hugely helpful. But if you're not okay with that idea or you don't have time, it doesn't matter. You can still do it mentally. So PNN stands for pause, notice, note. Okay, this is how we collect data about your nature of your inner voice. This is how we finding out the narrative of what that goes on in your head and whispers into your ear things all the time, whether you like it or not. It's subconsciously, unconsciously, and consciously. Sometimes you hear it. So this is like the first model to the first part of the process. We need to gather some data. We need to observe ourselves. We need to become a watcher. Okay, so you need to introduce a practice, but first of all you need to sort of commit to it. So you need to plan it. You need to think, right, okay, I want to do this and I want to find out how. So you need to create some space for yourself to stop, to pause, and to focus, to become the watcher of your thoughts. I want you to write down 3 repetitive or intrusive thoughts that you might have. So the little model I came up with, it's called pause, notice, and note. In other words, stop, observe, and make a mental note or a literal note, write it down, where I want you to create a ritual around this for a week. Maybe you will find out, maybe you will gather your data, a lot sooner if it's not obvious already what you want to work on. But then, so what you do, you stop, you become observer of your thoughts, or you go back in your thoughts and you think about a situation that when your intrusive thoughts manifested and they were sort of disturbing you or stopped you from doing something. So it doesn't have to be the situation from that. You just need to observe yourself in the past or in the present, right? Anxious people also do it in the future. But, and I want you to spend enough time as an observer. So you choose 3 intrusive or thoughts that you think repeatedly, and you want to work with them. You want to have a look at them. For the purpose of this video, I chose 3 thoughts from my past. Well, actually 1 from my past, and I just came up with stuff from the therapy room that, from working with people, right? So I'll tell you a little story now. When I first came to London 20 years ago, I was 23 and I barely spoke any English. And I was learning, right? And I started working, was really nervous. I didn't have the I don't care about anything attitude. I was very worried about how people perceived me, not with regards to my looks, but whether I'm being perceived as intelligent. And that sort of created a problem because I was just learning English, so I used to make a lot of mistakes, right? And every time I did, I was thinking to myself, oh my God, I'm so stupid. I should have known this, okay? So I was devaluing myself every time I made a grammar mistake or every time I said something, I don't know, funny or I pronounced something in a weird way, which I still do, but I don't care anymore. But so that used to be my intrusive thought about myself. This is how I perceived myself. That was the story that I was telling myself every time I made that mistake. So obviously, I was putting myself down a lot. Okay, so as an example today, we're going to work with that thought from my past. I am stupid. I should have known better. Okay, the second thought that we're going to work with is I will never find anyone. People say, oh my God, I'm unlovable, right? Because the message underneath, I will never find anyone, there's no one for me, right? Or all men are horrible these days, or all men are toxic, or all women are after money today. These thoughts show our beliefs about the world, about love, about relationships, etc. So we're going to work with that thought, I will never find anyone. And the third thought that we're going to work with, I am so unlucky. It's part of victimhood narrative, and a lot of people think that today. And obviously in the past I used to think that about myself, because victimhood mentality, I think this is like a point on evolution when you're growing as a human being. It's just stage. It's very common for people to think that. So we're going to work with that thought. So let's say after a week of having a practice of in the morning, you get your cup of tea, or you get your cup of coffee, and you think about, maybe you have a ritual to think about last night, or to think about last day at work, and then you think, right, okay, what do I think? Do I think the same thoughts? Because, you know, it's usually we think the same thoughts every day about ourselves and the world, right? And let's say you happen to identify these three thoughts as that you repeatedly think. So for the purpose of this video, what I decided to do is I'm going to ask you to check each one of those examples against a dimension, right? You've got the arrow here, and as you can see, the arrow goes from disempowering, not on your side and draining your energy, to empowering on your side and driving you. You take each of the thoughts you found to be intrusive, or the one that you want to change or work with, and you make a point on that dimension, on that arrow. Where would you find, what sort of where would you find that thought to be on that dimension? Was it disempowering you, not on your side? Sometimes it's about how is that thought makes you feel. So let's take the example of I am very unlucky. Okay, take the example, I'm very unlucky. You are obviously putting it on a towards the disempowering end, where if you think that, that's going to shape your reality, that's going to shape your attitude towards life, that's going to shape every moment of your life. So it is quite important to change that and to shift that and create the shift from disempowering to empowering. Okay, and obviously if you talk about empowering yourself with your thoughts, the holy grail at the top of the mountain would be to go from I'm very unlucky to I'm the luckiest person in the world. But this is not how it happens. Or I'm unlovable to I love myself dearly. Very, very rarely that shift happens with that speed, and you can create a shift in an hour, right? So and that's actually dismissing the point that people who have a lot of pain, people who have a lot of mental health issues, or their sense of self, it's broken, or they're very traumatized, they can't really stomach anything positive about themselves. The way they see themselves, it's It doesn't allow them, the internal state doesn't allow them to even pronounce, to articulate stuff like I love myself, or they don't know how to do this, they've never been shown how. So therefore I've created this little model and this little protocol how to do it gradually. Okay, so we're not going to go from disempowering to empowering 100%, but we are going to learn how to move that point, so we go towards empowering gradually and slowly at your pace, so you can familiarize yourself with the discomfort that this process creates, because it's not as easy. And if you've been thinking these thoughts for a very long time, and if your inner voice has been saying, yeah, you piece of shit, you create identity around this, and people don't let go of their identity very easily. They hang on to it because that's what they know, and that's what's familiar to them. So coming out of your changing your story and changing your narrative thought by thought is a very slow, difficult, and sometimes uncomfortable process, but it can be done. It can be done, and you can learn that. You see, once you start applying these techniques, strategies, or protocols, so you get the how, then and you can listen to that video many times, then it goes in, and you are more and more, it comes easily to you day by day, and you're more and more competent at it. So you're more and more confident. Okay, so you've chosen 3 thoughts, as I have, after the process of stopping, observing your thoughts, and making a mental note which 3 thoughts you want to choose. And you have them on a piece of paper, or are you holding them in your mind? So the thought I'm going to be talking about is I am unlucky, right? It is a very disempowering thought, because it would actually be very demotivating. It will be creating the reality in which, what's the point of even trying if I'm unlucky? What's the point of even making plans? It's never going to happen because of the weather, because every time I go away it rains, or every time I reach out to this friend he says no, or she says no. So obviously, if you think the world is against you, that creates a really, I'm thinking low mood, but not only low mood, but also very demotivated attitude. And that's really hard. It is hard to work on yourself, but not to work on yourself and to leave it to chance and to randomness of your brain, it's a lot harder. So as you can see on the slide, the way to do it, you go through a 4-point stage, right? So that little process, you take your thought, I am unlucky, and you go through 4 points. The first thing you do, you make it into a question. I am unlucky, point 1. Am I unlucky, right? Actually, once you put a question mark at the end of that sentence, you are elevating it from a statement, 100% statement, like a confident statement, into a question. So you're putting doubt into that. So you're sort of loosening up it's not that categorical anymore. It's a question, okay? So it's not as disempowering. So you're moving that point alongside that dimension, and you're going into direction of empowering, okay? Point 2, you say, I am unlucky, but you put a but, and then you give a counter sentence. So what you say is, I am unlucky, but sometimes good things happen to me, okay? And then you look for examples in which, okay, for example, I am unlucky, but sometimes I am unlucky in my job, I'm unlucky in relationships, but actually I have a fantastic friendship group. Okay, so I'm sure if you look wide enough, if you slightly stretch your perspective, you can find things and evidence for the opposite statement. Okay, so so then again, that thought, that point on the dimension of from disempowering to empowering, again, it's moving closer to empowering. It's not as disempowering, and that's the way to change your negative thinking. Okay, and then point 4. And the point 2 is called reframing. We slightly reframing, we adding things on, and we are, and it happens in therapy a lot actually, because the way you talk to yourself is, words have power. So, and your subconscious mind is constantly listening. Your sense of self is constantly listening. So there's a difference between when you say, I am unlucky, or whether you say, I am unlucky, but good things happen to me sometimes. But then the point 3 is, you say the previous sentence, but you turn it around, right? You say, good things happen to me, but sometimes I'm unlucky. Okay? And then point 4 is, you say, I am lucky. This is just a template for you to work with, is to show you how you can reframe stuff, how you can move your thoughts, your unhelpful thoughts. And you can do that process with absolutely any thought, right? And you can work with one thought first for a week, give it a go and see. I don't want you to believe me, I want you to test it, and I want you to let me know how it went, because I guarantee you're going to feel better about yourself. I guarantee you going to, once you start moving your most negative, once you start shifting your most negative thoughts from disempowering to empowering, you're going to feel it, you're going to have a lot more energy, or slightly more energy. You're going to feel the shift in the way you feel about yourself. I want you to remember that words have power. So it is really important for you to shift those toxic thoughts. So it is really important to actually work on yourself. Because once you do, as I said before, you're going to create a shift in how you feel. So in conclusion, I want to say this. I think I know this is a very good tool for working with your inner thoughts, your inner world, your inner narrative, and it could be, it could be done at any stage of your growth, at any stage of your personal development or personal evolution. You can take it at the very beginning of the process, and you can start with 3 thoughts that are really neutral. You can start moving them towards empowering, and but you can also do it when you really advanced, because I still do it. Sometimes I think, okay, what's stopping me from doing something? And then sometimes I have an unconscious thought that keeps popping in, like, you don't deserve that, or why would you think you that good, or something like that, which is obviously stopping me from doing something I really desire to do, or I really want to do, or from stopping me from growing as a person or as a therapist. Try and find couple of hours in a week to work with that. I encourage you to write it down, because that adds an extra texture, shall we say, to the process. But if you don't want to, that's still okay. Still okay to do things internally and in your head. It's just writing things down. It sort of grounds you in the process a bit more, and it grounds you in the moment a bit more. And use it as a template and see how you feel. Once you collect enough of those shifts, you're going to feel a big difference. You're going to feel better about your day. You're going to feel better about yourself. And then every time that thought pops into your head, you challenge it in the way you know. You challenge it. You say, oh, really? Right. Is that true? Not really. No, that's not true, because or because remember, brain is intrusive and a lot of our thinking is automated. So the thought will be coming back. It doesn't make it true. It just asking you to do a bit more work, to be a bit more consistent in changing that. So I wish you good luck. Please let me know how you get on when you're in your comments. If you liked the video, please hit the subscribe button with the notification on. That would obviously, and please give me some feedback in the comments. Also, I'm very open to suggestions. If you want to let me know stuff that you would like to be covered, if you like my way of looking at things, please make a suggestion in the comment section. I'll be very happy to take the challenge on. And thank you very much for listening. It was hopefully helpful, and I'm sure if you do it, you'll create wonderful shifts and you'll feel better. Thank you very much, and I'll see you soon.